I've spent quite some time thinking about this theory, and today I'm excited to finally share it with you guys. In this video, I aim to answer what the crying child's importance is, who Glitch Bear and FNAF World's player is, William's influence over the spirits, and his motives throughout the series. So grab some snacks, because this is gonna be a big one. I hope you enjoy. We all know the story of William Afton, a psychopath who killed his business partner's daughter out of a jealous rage, who discovered possession and desired to learn how he could control and manipulate such power, leading him down a path and discovering its ability for immortality. But what was the process of him coming to such a substantial understanding of possession? I believe after Charlie's death, William decided to test some theories on his very own son, the crying child. I want to make note that I don't think CC was put into the observation stations like some believe. I believe those experiments are a result of whatever William learnt from CC's experiences. However, I think these experiences were orchestrated, or more correctly, William manipulated his emotions to enhance his fears of the animatronics. As Charlie's death would have recently occurred, there would have been some media coverage over the event. However, as a killer would have never been identified, as Charlie's body would have been discovered with the puppet over it, I don't think it's hard to believe stories and rumours would have spread all around town, some of which children would have spread as well, such as,
I hear they come to life at night, and if you die, they hide your body and never tell anyone.
Such stories would be given further credibility if one misinterpreted an employee being fitted into a costume as a body being hidden. With the combination of his beliefs in these stories and fear of the animatronics, CC would have had nightmares, which is what inspired the nightmare segments of the experiments and FNAF 4. I believe William coerced CC into believing these stories, to influence his fears and nightmares using what he considered to be his best friend, the Fredbear plush. Now, there are some common issues I've seen with William being the Fredbear plush speaker. These include Mike hearing Fredbear talking to CC. If William's voice was coming out of the plush, why didn't Mike acknowledge his own father's voice, speaking from the toy? Well, I don't think the voice would literally be his father's. I think it's possible William's voice was distorted or altered to sound different, even friendly. What evidence is there for this? Not much, admittedly. However, yes, while I will be using the real Jake for this, the story does have narrative parallels between the two children and their imaginary friends. When Jake's father speaks from the Simon doll, Jake never once in the story acknowledges that his father is speaking through the doll. This is because the voice is altered. I believe this to be the same for CC's plush. Another example, and one that's a bit weaker, is the fact William's voice is also distorted when he is in the spring bonnie suit in the movie. Another jump at the theory is, how would William speak through the plush if he is at work? I think a lot of the voices in the plush are pre-recorded. We see this very thing happen in Dittophobia, when Rory attempts to turn off the generator. A voice speaks through a cassette, convincing him to leave the generator on, including turning the hallucinogenic gas back on. I don't see why William couldn't have done a similar thing here as well. As for the plush being everywhere in the minigames, well, it would be a camera system, despite my opinions on the guidebooks, is something which is also stated in the Ultimate Guide. I don't know how else you would explain it other than CC seeing his imaginary friend everywhere, which is a valid theory in of itself. However, considering sister location recontextualized parts of FNAF 4's story, one of these changes was turning 4's night segments into a bigger experiment, including the reveal that the Fredbear plush was a tool William used to communicate or even spy on his son. To further prove why I believe the plush to be William pretending to be his friend, we'll need to analyze his lines.
You know he's hiding again. He won't stop until you find him.
The him in question is obviously Mike, but notice how the second line places emphasis on CC being the one to find Mike, not a warning or words of support for him. Rather, the plush encourages CC to look for Mike, who is deliberately looking to scare his little brother by wearing the face of a character he knows he is afraid of. The plush is deliberately building CC's fears and anxieties. Now, let's look at night 2.
He left without you. You are right beside the exit. If you run, you can make it. No! Don't you remember what you saw? The exit is the other way.
When CC attempts to leave, Fredbear appears blocking the exit.
It's too late. Hurry the other way and find someone who will help. You know what will happen if he catches you.
When you run like normal, the plush will have another line of dialogue, but if you go back, you can see William placing an employee into a spring body suit, which ties back to the stories that were spreading around town. As CC would have believed them by this point, this further emphasizes that this is what CC believes will happen if he is caught by the animatronics, which is given validity in the next minigame, with Pigtail Girl telling us this very story. While William and the employee are not completely in the shadows, it does show us that Scott was trying to communicate to us back with his lore hints from FNAF World's site. What is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. Skipping night 3 and jumping into night 4's minigame, where CC is locked in the parts and service room, pleading to be let out, I believe CC, having been locked in this room, is deliberate. Regardless of if it was William or Mike who locked him in there, doesn't change the meaning of this minigame. CC's fears are once again amplified being locked in this room. Remember that old point MatPat brought up in his FNAF 4 theory about the wires poking out of the suit being a tuft of hair? Well, obviously it's not. But what if CC interpreted it as exactly that? A child hidden in the suit, once again feeding into the stories and his fears. All of CC's fears and anxieties all accumulated in the climax of his story, the Night 5 minigame. In Night 6, as CC lay in the hospital, William took the role of his friend, indicated by the slight text colour change, still playing that role in the room with him. States he is broken and that he will put him back together, and that's exactly what he did. Upon CC's death, his soul was shattered amongst the places he had been, including the Fredbear animatronic, given the tears which would have been shed in Fredbear's mouth. William started his fear experiment on children to replicate what he saw with CC, to replicate the fear CC had of the animatronics. While he would have lured children away, children who lived in neglectful families as implied by Titophobia and what I believe Midnight Murderous to be about, I believe he created the Funtime animatronics to efficiently kidnap children for further testing. However, due to an unforeseen circumstance, Elizabeth died at the claw of Baby. Upon her death, William finally learned how to force his spirits to inhabit an animatronic. They needed to be stuffed to die in the suits, allowing for the spirit to follow the flesh, as well as the pain, as described in the fourth closet. Now, some may question why Elizabeth died before the MCI, and while the new Into the Pit game seems to imply that this is the case as seen in the Circus Baby's poster depicting her with green eyes, something only exclusive to Baby after Elizabeth's possession, the novel trilogy also implies that this is the case. Afton reached up and touched the mechanical girl's cheek, then turned his attention to Jessica. The most terrible accidents sometimes bear the most beautiful fruits, he said to himself, recreating the accident. That is the duty and the honor of science, to replicate the experiment and obtain the same results. I give my life to this experiment, piece by piece. This is exactly what the MCI was, after replicating what happened with Elizabeth to finally bring life to the machines, just as Charlie's soul had. He was able to create life. We both wanted to love. Your father loved, and now I have loved. We know how spirits inhabited the suits, but what about CC? An issue people have with his spirits being a necessary component for Happiest Day is the fact that he died away from the animatronics and years before the MCI. How then did he end up connected to them? I think FNAF World has our answer. FNAF World has always been confusing to the lore, and we know that it does have lore significance, as Scott confirmed in Dorko's interview, stating he regretted trying to tie the game to a canon one.
And in hindsight, what I should have done is, I should have used that for a troll game, or I should have, made something like, Foxy Fighters. I should have just done something that was obviously for fun and not tried to somehow tie it in to a canon game.
He never said that the game was not canon, just he regretted connecting it to one. But one thing is certain, it helps set up the pieces used for Happiest Day, and these pieces are connected to the crying child. The way Yellow Eyes or Glitch Bear speaks to us is the same as the Fredbear plush, with the same pupils further connecting the two. I think William is Glitch Bear in World as well, but how does that make sense? Why would William want to help his son? He doesn't care for his children, he doesn't want to set the spirits free, no. He doesn't. FNAF World is not about William wanting to help the children or his son. It's about him learning to put souls back together. It's about him intertwining CC's soul or memories with the MCI. Why the MCI? This is answered within the very beginning of the game.
Everything that happens out there has an effect here. Do you understand? This is a safe place. This is a sanctuary. But something has gone wrong, and now it can be seen here. Something went very wrong. That is why I am here. But I won't let the same happen to you.
From this we can gather the real world has an effect on FNAF World, but some terrible incident occurred. Something Glitch Bear does not want to happen to us. CC. This incident, I believe, is the MCI. So, what do we know about the MCI? Well, they possess the animatronics because they were stuffed. Glitch Bear or William does not want the crying child to possess an animatronic like the MCI. Instead, he wants to put the crying child back together and in turn intertwine his soul with the MCI. We know his soul is intertwined with the MCI because his memories are represented in each of FNAF 3's minigames, and their connections with CC's experiences in FNAF 4. BB's Air Adventure contains the Balloon Kid, Mangle's Quest contains Mangle, representing Mangle in Elizabeth's room. Shadow Puppet is in the same position as CC by the end of Night 6's minigame. In Chica's Party, we have Toy Chica representing the tiny Toy Chica. Stage 01 is the show stage from Fredbear's. One of the MCI spirits is found in a locked off room in a similar placement as CC in Night 4's minigame. Shadow Bonnie's minigame has us playing as a shadow which is casted by Fredbear and Spring Bonnie in the diner. I skipped the Happiest Day one, but we'll get back to it, don't worry. Before we do, however, let's take a step back, because there is one small issue with William being the one to put the pieces in place for the crying child and himself putting them together. Why? Well, he says so himself in the clock ending.
The pieces are in place for you. All you have to do is find them.
CC must be the one to find the pieces and put himself back together, which is what we do in FNAF World. We, as the player, place the breadcrumbs for him to help him find his way. As I'm suggesting Yellow Eyes and Glitch Bear to both be William, then who is the player, and why does William have different tones when speaking to CC and the player? The second question has a simple answer. William, like he did for CC in 4, takes on the role of his friend and the Fredbear plush, who he trusts. As for the player, well, just like CC, with the final word of the clock ending and any other character in the franchise is manipulation. But who are they? As Redbear is commonly accepted to be Cassidy in UCM, then they would also have to be Cassidy in World. Afton is manipulating Cassidy to do his bidding, as he does with the other kids' spirits, but according to Afton, he made the player for World, and he definitely did not create Cassidy. But here's the thing, to Afton, the life given to the animatronics from the spirits is his own making. Afton is one who desires control, and he has this control over the spirits. The reason why they kill, he says as such in the movie when he loses control of the animatronics.
Look at you, look at the nasty things that you have become. Look how small you are wretched, rotten little beast. I made you.
The talk about creation of life in the animatronics is brought up in the novel trilogy too. My dad trusted you. What did you do to him? I helped him create. We both wanted to love. Father loved, and now I have loved. You killed. You've created monsters. The kids you killed are still here. You've imprisoned them, as well as the fourth closet. It's an interesting alchemy. You can take something that you control completely, but that has no will of its own, like a gun, I suppose. Or you can take a drop of pixie dust, and you can create a monster that you mostly control. One with unlimited potential. In William's view, He created the life in the animatronics. He created the newfound life the kids now have. This, in my opinion, makes sense if Cassidy is the player. Everything else is self-explanatory from here. William implores Cassidy to leave breadcrumbs for the crying child so he can find his way, because William is unable to do so himself. These breadcrumbs, which are also the pieces for Happiest Day, allow for the crying child to be linked with the other kids, because Freddy and the gang are his friends, as he said in FNAF 4 about his plushies. Having known what these pieces are and what William wants of these pieces, we can even use this to answer what is in the box, the pieces put together, as Scott said in his FNAF 4 Halloween edition post. Why do I say this? In the files for Update 2 of World, there is an image of the FNAF 4 box opened, and something else that is linked with Update 2 is a line in the source code for the teasers from FNAFworld.com leading up to Update 2's release, which reads, "He put the pieces together." Now this could have changed by now, as Scott has gone on record to say the contents of the box have changed over the years.
He did a video on that box, and he kind of said that he thinks the contents of the box changed over the years. You know, and I bet nobody gave that a whole lot of thought, but I saw that and I was like, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. The contents of that box have changed over the years.
Well, this would be true. That doesn't equate to the meaning of the box's contents having changed, and I believe that the meaning of the box remains true even now. Some of you may be asking, if the pieces of CC were in place with the MCI early on, then why hasn't Happiest Day been accomplished sooner? I thought very similarly about this, and I think the answer is quite simple. FNAF World is about how William created or altered memories to establish negative or warped ones to keep the spirits locked in a false Happiest Day, one which would allow William to maintain their trust as the Yellow Rabbit. We see this very thing happen in the novel and movie continuities.
They are home with me, their happiest day.
How do we get out?
There isn't a way out anymore. All that's left is family.
Well, then you're trapped too, and you're not going to be hurting anyone else.
I don't have to. When it gets dark, they will awaken. The children's spirits will rise. They will kill you. I'll just walk out in the morning, stepping over your corpses, one by one.
He looked at each of them in turn, as if relishing in the bloody scene.
They'll kill you too. No, I'm quite confident that I will survive.
Really? I'm pretty sure they're the spirits of the kids you killed. Why would they hurt us? It's you they're after.
They don't remember. They've forgotten. The dead do forget. All they know is that you are here trying to take away their happiest day. You are intruders. You are grown-ups.
And what makes you think they won't kill you?
Because I am one of them. Carlton.
He stepped back with a shot of surprise. The voice was so clear in his head that he recognized it instantly. Michael? The single word was enough. Carlton turned to the table with a new terrible clarity. He knew exactly what he was looking at. The endoskeletons of the original Freddy's animatronics, welded and melted together, immobile, featureless, and still inhabited by the spirits of the children who had been murdered inside of them. How could you do this to them? They do everything willingly. The process only truly works if they freely release a portion of themselves. Scared of fire, but they still trust me. They don't see me as I am now. They only remember me as I was. You see, William was able to influence their spirits in the Silver Eyes via a mural of children's drawings, all of which contained parts of the spirit's remnant. The same way he was able to influence the spirit's memories in the movie, and why Abby was able to turn the spirits against William. Why drawings? This is explained in the movie.
You know, pictures hold tremendous power for children. Before we learn to speak, images are the most important tool we have for understanding the world around us. It's real, what matters to us most. These are things children learn to communicate almost exclusively through pictures. And who is at the center of 9 out of 10 of them? You're her world.
Drawings are a way for children to communicate, to understand, and to express themselves. They allow for us a gateway into their mind, and it's no different for the spirits. Dr. Lillian explains to Mike how she knows how much he matters to Abby because he's the center of most of her drawings. And who is at the center of the mural in the film? The Yellow Rabbit. Just like in both continuities, I believe William can influence the spirits in a similar fashion, including the crying child in the games. He controls the spirits because their memories and remnants are connected with the drawings in the pizzeria. These alterations make them view him as their friend, the Yellow Rabbit, before he killed them, forever trapping them in a false happiest day. Now that we've explained how William was able to influence the spirits and how he was able to intertwine Cece's soul with the other children, I'm sure you have a couple questions. First off, is there any more proof establishing why Cece's pieces are needed to free the spirits in their real happiest day? For this, let's take a look at the survival logbook. We all know what this was trying to show us, a conversation between the crying child and Cassidy. What she is trying to do here is get Cece to remember parts of his past, perhaps even what truly happened to him, asking questions which reference FNAF 4, questions which only Cece would know the answers to, further solidifying the spirits have parts of his memories with them. And we know this conversation's end goal, to help bring all the pieces together for Happiest Day, as showcased within this page depicting the puppet handing a black-haired girl who would represent Cassidy, as she has black hair in the novels as well as the puppet handing her a cake, mirroring what the puppet does in the Happiest Day minigame. We can assume the picture is in reference to this because of the text on the same page. Reflect on the happiest day of your life. If you haven't noticed by now, what is being depicted in the survival logbook is essentially what I described FNAF World's plot to be. Cassidy is helping place breadcrumbs for Cece in order to bring the pieces together, helping establish a happiest day. To add an extra point establishing Glitchbear to be Afton, if their goal is to free the spirits of the crying child by the end of the world, as they claim, then why did they not leave a breadcrumb leading them to the Happiest Day minigame itself? As the core memory of Cece would be the day he was bitten, which is the exact layout of the Happiest Day minigame in reverse, this would be required to free his soul, right? So why not lead him here? It's because whoever Glitchbear is, they do not want to free his soul. They want to use their soul just like the other children, keeping them trapped. This would also explain why the breadcrumbs in FNAF 3 are the same ones created in World. And guess which minigame in 3 does not have a hint leading us to it? The Happiest Day minigame. Now I'm sure there is one last question on your mind since the FNAF World segment. Why does Cassidy have to be the player of World specifically? Why does she have to be the one to bring the pieces together? It's because Golden Freddy would have the strongest connection with the crying child. Golden Freddy and Fredbear are the same animatronic, and as Cece's tears would have been shed onto Fredbear before his head was chomped, his fear and anxieties would have already been embedded into the suits by proxy, allowing Cassidy to have the strongest connection with him. This would also explain why the Golden Freddy kid in the movie has his face over one of the children to which he doesn't belong to in the drawing with the Yellow Rabbit. Most likely Garrett, who regardless of if he is an Afton in the movie continuity, is intended to represent the crying child's character, just like Mike represents the game equivalent to Michael Afton. Their face is over the child because he is the one with the strongest connection with Garrett. He is the one to help bring the pieces of Garrett together to connect them with the other spirits and the Freddy's location, which, guess what? Despite Cece not being in the novel's continuity, Michael Brooks, that universe's Golden Freddy's spirit, is responsible for keeping the souls of the other kids together. He says as such in the fourth closet while the kids are split across the Funtimes. What are you doing? I have to put them back together. See? He pointed out from the table at the pizzeria around them. Carlton squinted into the blurry horizon, seeing nothing at first. Then they began to appear. He saw pages and pages of colourful drawings, some on the walls, others blowing through the air. They were all in pieces. He shuffled the pages in front of him and found two that showed the same child. Then he placed one on top of the other and began to trace the lines. These go together, Michael said, holding up the picture. The two drawings had become one. The separate pages somehow bonded together. The lines were clearer and the colours more vibrant. What are you putting back together? My friends. Michael pointed to a single picture propped up against the wall. It showed 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, standing together in a cheerful pose with a yellow rabbit standing behind them. Despite Cece not being in this continuity, Golden Freddy still maintains the same role in the MCI. This can even explain why the final memory, the Happiest Day minigame, contains Cassidy's spirit. The minigame, which is is a reversal of the crying child's most important day, the climax of his story. If you undo his trauma and agony, all the spirits can be freed, undoing what William did to them. However, as all 6 kids would be under Afton's influence, then how were they able to undo what he did to them? Well, who is the one spirit who is the most aware? Who is the spirit who Afton would not have any influence over? Who is known as the guardian of the MCI, the puppet? Charlie. Unless you believe in the arcade theory, the theory that all of the minigames in FNAF 3 are physical arcade games, then the ones that help the spirits come together to complete Happiest Day is Mike. But regardless, whoever it is, they are the one who goes into each memory and assemble the spirits for their happiest day. But why didn't Charlie free the spirits earlier? It's because she couldn't. William imprisoned them, prevented them from moving on. It's not like she never tried. This is what I believe Give Gifts, Give Life represents. Charlie attempts to give the spirits their happiest day first, but it failed because she was missing a core piece of the puzzle, Golden Freddy. They appear for a split second, but she never gives them a gift. She never gives them a mask. Give Gifts is a failed happiest day because Cassidy was not present and because they were imprisoned already by Afton. Plus, they were also missing the core piece for CC to complete the happiest day. So she does the next best thing. She vows her life to protect the kids, to be their guardian, which is what Give Life is meant to represent, which is further supported by Henry in FNAF 6.
It's time to rest for you and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends for all of us.
Once everything is put together as symbolized by all 5 kids receiving their masks for Happiest Day, and when the agony from the past can rest, the spirits are able to have their happiest day, their real one, and leave this world behind them. Except for Charlie, as she defeats Afton in Fright and Cassidy if you believe she is the princess, and with that, we are finally done. So, what did you think? Did you like the theory, or do you have disagreements on it? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it to the end, there is a Discord server that I'm a part of, which is dedicated to bringing together all of the smaller FNAF YouTubers and their audiences in one server. So if you feel like joining them, the link would be in the description. But if you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell to be notified on when I upload next, and liking the video. It's appreciated. Thank you for watching, and as I always say, enjoy your day/evening.